Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing another album review. I'm going to be taking a look at this record today. So it's a debut album by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then show you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So yes, as I said, the debut album from Tom Petty released on the 9th of November in 1976. So Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were born out of Petty's previous band, which was called Mudcrutch. In 1974, they had signed to LA label Shelter Records, and they'd released a single, I think it was Depot Street, which had completely flopped. The record company dropped the band. However, they saw potential in Tom as a solo artist. However, Tom wasn't comfortable just playing with any old musicians. So a compromise was reached where a future album would be released under Tom Petty and whatever the band name was. Of course, the band name would be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. After recruiting a new drummer, Stan Lynch, and bassist Ron Blair. So they began to work on this album in the studio, and like most debut albums, was recorded pretty quickly over a 2-week period in LA with producer Denny Cardell. Now, upon release, the album didn't gain much traction in America. It would be over here in the UK where Petty would have his first taste of success, where the single issued from this album, anything that's rock and roll, would go top 40, and it's his whole music and aesthetic fitted in with this growing commercialization of punk and new wave music, music going back to more rock and roll based music. Tom Petty fitted into that quite well. This album did do quite good in the UK, like I said, reached number 24 on the charts, and interestingly, it would be his most successful album over here until Full Moon Fever, more than 10 years later. In America, though, it was much more of a slow burner, taking 2 years to really gain any commercial momentum, eventually peaking at number 55 and eventually going gold in America. So I'll just show you my vinyl copy of it here. This is, I think it's just the basic original pressing of it. Not too difficult to get this album here. So there's the cover there, quite a nice cover, just portrait of Tom, and then you've got all the band members on the back of it there, and then this is just in a promotional in the sleeve of all of the other records which were on the Shelter label here, or I think it was Island Records, which was the bigger company they were part of. And then it's just on, that's what the record label looks like. So yeah, that's all there is to the vinyl. And yeah, I will just now go over each of the album songs in detail. The album kicks off with the song Rockin' Around With You, which is quite an upbeat song, quite a frantic little rocker here, great bass playing on it as well, from Ron Blair, which really propels the song. That really is the signature part off the track. You've got some great harmony vocals on it, it's really nicely arranged, the vocals on this song. However, the lyrics are a little bit basic though, on it, nothing too profound on this one here, but it's just a nice, short, snappy song to kick off Tom Petty's career. Next track up though was one of the singles issued from the album. I believe it was the first single, and it is Breakdown, which is a really good song. I think not necessarily though representative of the sound which they would later going it's got a very smooth and very silky kind of sound. It almost reminds me a bit of a band say Steely Dan thing, very smooth and very tastefully played. Again it's a short song, this one here. You've really got the one verse to it, and then the chorus repeated, but yeah, like I said, just really great instrumentation, especially from Mike Campbell's guitar solo in it. Eventually this single would reach the US top 40 almost a year after its initial release. So yeah, really a slow burner this song here, but definitely is a classic track in Tom Petty's catalogue. And then the next next song up is called Hometown Blues, which is a really catchy little number, this one here. Again, it's quite basic lyrically, this one here, but I do just sort of like the kind of sort of like throwback, sort of like rockabilly sort of like arrangement like on it. Like yeah, like it is like just a really nice song there. Like again, like really catchy like melody, this one here. So yeah, we'll give that one an 8 out of 10. Next track up is called The Wild One Forever, and this is a more of a kind of sort of sweeping ballad. Like we slow things down a little bit, like on this one here. Kind of similar vein to something like, say, like on the Hard Promises album, like maybe like Night Watchman, or like maybe like one of those like kind of like songs. Like one of those like sort of like slightly slower, like a more like, sort of like grandiose like kind of songs. Like this is kind of like where like he sort of like started like that style of writing. Again, it's a nice song. I think it's not what I would pick out like as a real highlight on the album, but it is a good song there. So yeah, that one would also get like an 8 out of 10. And then to close the side one, we get what was I think the second or third single issued from the album, like at least like in like the UK, and that's Anything That's Rock and Roll, which is another good, really tight little rocking track. Very catchy song. Again, this was kind of like Petty's sort of like introduction, like sort of like to that sort of like commercial success. Like it's sort of got like a really sort of like unique sort of like swaggering vocal like from Petty. Like I said, that was a minor hit like in the UK and reaching number 36, and like they went on I think top of the pops like too, like before this song. I think Petty's only ever appearance like on there. And yeah, would also be notable because it would be his highest charting UK single until I Won't Back Down, like more than 10 years later, like kind of just showing like how like sort of like the British record buying public really like ignored like Tom Petty like throughout like probably like his peak years. Anyway, we then flip over the record to side 2, and it kicks off with a song called Strangers in the Night, which is another kind of driving rocking track here. Again, you've got quality musicianship like on it. It's just a really sort of like a good solid rocking track. My only sort of minor complaint with this one is the slightly sort of like dated vocal effects like on it. Like it's sort of like when they sing out the chorus song, when like they sing out the chorus like Strangers in the Night, it sort of like has like this sort of like this echo sort of like delay on it. Sounds a little bit dated to me that though, but it is still a good song though. Great playing like on it. So yeah, overall would also give that one an 8 out of 10. The next track up is called Fooled Again, I Don't Like It. Now this is one of the more sort of highly rated, highly regarded songs like on the album, but for me it isn't one which I would say is a personal favourite of mine. For me, it's just not quite as melodically strong or like lyrically interesting as some of the other tracks like on the album. Plus, for me, the band kind of just sounds like they're also like going through the motions like a little bit. Like they've sort of like at this point, like on the album, they've kind of like established their sound and the sound like and like not really sort of like deviating from it too much. Like, but still a good track though. Like this one, like really sort of like comes alive like in concert. This song, like they sort of like expanded it out like with a sort of big like guitar solo like and like whatnot. But yeah, still like a good song like on the album. Like definitely that doesn't hurt the record for me. Baby, I won't be your mystery man. Next song up is called Mystery Man, which is a more sort of slower and more tender song. Really has a sort of like Rolling Stonesy sort of like vibe to this. Like so, like I can really like imagine like Mick Jagger like sort of like singing this sort of like so like reminds me like a lot of like say their stuff on like Let It Bleed and like Beggar's Banquet, like the most like tender moments like on like those albums. For me though, it just doesn't really stand out like on like the record. Like it's one like which like you're sort of like it's quite a forgettable track this. But still a pretty good song there though. So that would get also a 7 out of 10. Then we get probably the most left field song on the album, which is a track called Luna, which is more so like an unexpected song, kind of sort of prog rock like influence like on this one here, perhaps inspired by the bands which producer Denny Cordell like I'd worked with previously, like which had included the Moody Blues and Procol Harum. But overall, I am glad that Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers didn't go in this sort of like direction. Like it doesn't really suit them too well. And like yeah, like it's for me the weakest song on the album. Well, she was an American girl. And And then we close the album with, for me, what is the best song on the record, without a doubt. And yeah, it is probably Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' signature song. It's the classic American Girl. So yeah, just a wonderful song, this one here. Really just a wonderful, vibrant track, I think. It starts off like sort of the introduction, like with like the sort of like the chiming, so like Rickenbacker 12 strings, like on it, to the sort of like quite intriguing lyric, like on it, like sort of like quite sort of quite like ambiguous like lyric, like on like this track about sort of like a girl like sort of dreaming like of being something like bigger than she currently is. As a single though, this song didn't fare particularly well. Only reached number 40 in the UK, and like would actually fail to chart like in like America, which is quite a poor performance, like considering sort of like the song's like enduring legacy. Like I said, it's become like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers probably their signature song. Like I would say like a American like classic rock staple. Plus also notably, it would be the last song which Petty would ever perform live, closing out the set like off like his last concert in 2017. So yeah, that's me reviewed Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' self-titled debut album, and overall my total score for it would be 79%. So I just think this is a really great, really classic debut album, like it's like sort of like got like all the sort of like trademark characteristics like off like a debut record. Solid songs, a short running time, kind of like the band sort of sound like they are on like sort of like a mission statement, but in some ways like on this record they're still trying to find their sound, like on songs like Breakdown and Luna, like sort of like going like in like slightly different like directions, like, but for the most part it is just a solid rock and roll album, this. And yeah, it might not be quite as advanced lyrically or musically as some of their later works such as Damn the Torpedoes or like All Hard Promises, but I think it contains enough quality material, like especially like the first side, which I think like is particularly strong like for like a band's debut. What's also a shame as well is that this would be one of the only commercial successes for Tom in the UK. Like all like of his other albums like wouldn't chart like anywhere near like as high as this, like until like his sort of like until like his sort of like career renaissance like in like the late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, like he would kind of like go like unnoticed like in like the UK music scene like for like the rest like of like the 70s and like into like the 80s, like, which is like a real shame because he was producing some real quality albums like after this, like, but yeah, like this definitely stands up as like a really strong debut record. So that's been my review of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.